I'm excited to publicly announce that my company has invested in Bitcoin, and in this video, I'm going to share with you why we made this decision, how much BTC is now on our balance sheet, and I'm also going to share why thousands of companies and tens of millions of people are doing the same thing. Bitcoin is now a $1 trillion asset. The city of Miami is now accepting Bitcoin and paying employees with the cryptocurrency. There are multiple Bitcoin ETFs around the world. Tesla invests $1.5 billion to add Bitcoin into their balance sheet. MicroStrategy raises another $1 billion in convertible debt to add more Bitcoin to their company's balance sheet. Jack Dorsey and Jay-Z make a Bitcoin endowment. Uber is considering accepting Bitcoin payments from customers. And finally, MasterCard to offer cryptocurrency payments on its network this year. If you're a CEO, CFO, investor, entrepreneur, or have any financial power whatsoever, make sure you watch this video until the very end, because we are in the beginning of a movement, a transform of the economic world that we live in. It is so important that you're well educated, and depending on your job, it may actually be your fiduciary duty to do your homework and make sure you understand how all of this stuff works in the world around us. Before we get started, a disclaimer: I am not your financial advisor, so make sure you do your own due diligence and research before making any investment decision. I'm simply sharing a transparent look at what we're doing at our company. If you're new to the channel, what's up? I'm Ferris. I'm the co-founder and CEO of MySwimPro. We're a global technology and media company with a distributed team that spans over 10 time zones. We have over 300 investors spread across 36 different countries. And on this channel, I help entrepreneurs and investors get to the next level by sharing a behind the scenes look at how I'm building my business and the startups that I'm investing in. So make sure you're subscribed and make that small investment in the like button. I would really appreciate it. All right, let's get into this. So earlier this morning, I sent out a letter to all of our investors, and this letter was titled the MySwimPro Bitcoin Investment. I'm gonna go ahead and leave this on the screen somewhere so you can pause it and you can reference it. In this video, we're gonna go a little bit deeper. I'm gonna talk about what Bitcoin is, how it's used, how much of our balance sheet is actually in Bitcoin now, and why all the best companies in the world are moving their money into Bitcoin. So let's go ahead and get right into it. What is Bitcoin? BTC is the acronym, kind of like that ticker symbol for it. It was created in 2009 to be a digital currency. Now, when we think about currency, what is currency? Currency has two functions. It's either a store of value or a medium of exchange. So if you go to the store and you want to transact, you're going to transact in some type of a currency. If it's native to the country, meaning the government is backing it and printing it, it's called fiat currency. So in the United States, it's the US dollar. As a store of value, there's a lot of different assets that can do this. A lot of people think of gold as a store of value. You don't go to the store and transact with gold, but you might have it in your investment portfolio because it is a store of value. And Bitcoin is often considered the digital version of gold. And we'll get into that in just a little bit. Traditional currency is also created by a central authority, meaning the government has to issue this currency. Now with Bitcoin, it is decentralized, and most cryptocurrencies of this nature are decentralized, meaning there is no government intervention. It's very difficult for a government to try and ban a Bitcoin or something like that. It just doesn't work like that because there is no central authority. You'd basically be banning part of the internet, which can happen, but in the United States, that's not really what's going on. There's also a limited supply. There's only 21 million Bitcoin that will ever exist.
We're in an environment where the money supply is expanding at 15% a year or more, and we expect that to continue for the next 4 to 8 years. So for corporations that are cash rich, cash is the dilutive asset on the balance sheet. It's losing 15% of its purchasing power every year. So by converting a non-performing asset into the best performing asset, which is Bitcoin, they convert a dilutive asset into a accretive asset, and it's really good for shareholder value.
In the description of this video, I'm going to link two documents. One is the Satoshi Nakamoto white paper. This is basically the pseudonym for the founder or founders of Bitcoin. Breaks out some of the technology behind it as well. I'm also going to link the Gemini Cryptopedia that goes into all of these concepts in a little bit more detail if you're interested in that. So going back to the 21 million Bitcoin, this is really, really important to understand. So unlike a fiat currency like the US dollar, the government can simply print more of it. There will always be more in the future, and as a result, the supply is increasing. Simple unit economics of how supply and demand works. If you increase the supply, but the demand remains the same, the value of that will actually go down. And this is why over time, the purchasing power of the US dollar actually goes down. If you think about what you can buy with $100 or $1,000 or $1 million in today's money, it doesn't really go as far as, say, 10 years ago, 50 years ago, or 100 years ago. Not to say that the thing you're trying to purchase has actually gone up in value so much as the purchasing power of your dollar has gone down over time. And so when we have something like cryptocurrency or Bitcoin specifically, and you have a fixed supply, meaning there is no more additional Bitcoin being added into the system, and it is, we don't get into the details, but because of this, the value can only go up if the demand stays the same. And if the demand goes up and the supply is actually going down, well, then you have the price doing some crazy things like you see in the market today. So make sure you check out those links. Now, why is MySwimPro investing in Bitcoin? A couple of different reasons. So we truly believe in the future of crypto assets and cryptocurrency, right? MySwimPro is a technology company at heart. We are on the forefront of new innovation, and we are the early adopters of a lot of these technologies. Case in point, we were the first swimming app on the Apple Watch Series 2. We were in Tim Cook's keynote address. It was awesome. Not only that, but that app was named App of the Year by Apple. And we continue to push the boundaries of what innovation, what is possible with technology. And we simply see Bitcoin and cryptocurrency as one avenue within the business. Even though we're not in a financial services business or industry, it's still something that impacts our company because at the end of the day, we are a business. And we look at Bitcoin as the most widely adopted cryptocurrency. There's a network effect. It is orders of magnitude larger than a majority of the other coins and different cryptocurrencies that are out there on the market, and has really gained this significant adoption on both the retail side and on the institutional side. And we believe as a store of value, remember we're going back to store of value, it is a more attractive asset than holding US dollars. And we think about this similar to the forward-thinking companies like MicroStrategies and Tesla and all these different businesses and individuals who are keeping their asset and their value in Bitcoin for its store of value, not necessarily to transact with Bitcoin like you would the US dollars. At the end of the day, in the short term at least, we're going to continue to pay our team members in US dollars. That may change in the future, but for right now, we're looking at Bitcoin as a store of value, almost an inflationary hedge against the US dollar, because we know at the end of the day, no matter what, the US dollar will decrease in purchasing power over time, and to hold your entire balance in US dollars is actually at a certain point, fiscally irresponsible to go to the extreme end. And so we believe in the store of value of Bitcoin. And our goal is to maximize the long-term value for our business, our shareholders, and also our investors. So when it comes to fiduciary duty, it is our job, it is my job as the CEO, to make sure we're driving the most value possible for the business, for the shareholders, and of course, our investors. So it is fiscally irresponsible not to explore different asset classes that can sustain the business in the long run. So how do we actually execute this? How did this come about? So in terms of timeline, we were discussing this with my co-founders at the end of 2020. We had seen institutional adoption by MicroStrategy, PayPal, Square, and other big companies and institutions. And so at the beginning of 2021, in January, we made a board decision to allocate 10% of the company's balance sheet to BTC, Bitcoin. Now, the way that we actually acquired this Bitcoin was on a dollar cost average basis. At the beginning of the year, we made 7 different investments. We did this all on a platform called BlockFi. I personally ended up using all the major ones, Coinbase, all of that. They're all great, Gemini included. But we chose BlockFi for a couple of reasons, which we'll talk about. And our intention is to rebalance this quarterly on the upside, meaning if Bitcoin allocation drops below 10%, we will buy more Bitcoin and we'll make sure we hold that. If Bitcoin has a run up and it increases in value relative to the US dollar, which is something that we've seen recently at the time of this video, then we won't reallocate and we'll let it run. As long as we have sufficient cash funds on our balance sheet, we're a-okay. Now, you might be thinking, well, why aren't you investing in the business? You're a startup, you're trying to grow. Why are you not investing in the company? Why are you investing in anything? Well, a couple points to that. So number one, we're keeping 90% of our balance in US dollars or stable coins pegged to the the US dollar, meaning we have very good liquidity and we can continue to push the business forward. We are investing in the business. We are hiring. So we have a number of roles that are open. Make sure you check them out, linked in the description below. So we are investing in the business, but the reason why we are investing in Bitcoin, at least a partial allocation, goes back to driving value to our shareholders and our investors, because we are trying to make the business as valuable as possible. So to do this, it actually doesn't make sense to hold 100% cash because it's a depreciating asset. And at the end of the day, we're never going to drain our cash balance to zero. And if we do get to a point where we are looking to reinvest and our cash supply is low, we are holding a majority in stablecoin or BTC. So there's not only a value appreciation play where the Bitcoin is going to most likely increase in value faster than the US dollar. It's almost guaranteed because the US dollar is going down, but we also can gain interest on our BlockFi account. So we actually earn interest on the crypto that we are holding, anywhere from 3 to 6%. And another really interesting thing that BlockFi does is crypto-backed loans. So in the future, if we have, let's say, several $1 million in Bitcoin on our balance sheet, and we decide we need another $1 million of working capital, rather than sell the Bitcoin that we have, which will trigger a taxable event, we can actually get a loan at a low interest rate backed by cryptocurrency, do not trigger the taxable event, and we get the working capital that we need to reinvest the business. And this type of financial product is actually not available by the traditional financial institutions that are out there today. If you're interested in how BlockFi can actually do this and what their business model is like in order to be able to deliver interest rates up to like 8% on stablecoin, absolutely amazing. Sounds ridiculous, actually. I'll leave a few links to their website down in the description below so you can learn more. So a lot of really interesting things happening. I'm excited for the future. And what does that future look like? It is decentralized. We've already seen this movement in every single industry. This decentralization, giving power back to the people rather than one central authority. The people are in control. And with cryptocurrency and Bitcoin specifically, there is this financial freedom element. So how big is this market going to be, and what kind of a result do we end up seeing? By the way, our 10% allocation is already closer to 15% of our total balance sheet. And so as a result, you could argue that our business is already more valuable because of this asset appreciation. And we think from an adoption perspective, this is really interesting. This is not we think, these are facts. Bitcoin has the same number of users as the internet in 1997. However, Bitcoin is actually growing faster in adoption than the internet in the late 90s. And by 2024, or 2025, about 4 or 5 years from now, Bitcoin will have 1 billion users. And so that's what the internet looked like in 2005. So as you can see, Bitcoin adoption is growing faster than the internet, and you can draw some parallels to basically what we're seeing now in the 2020s is what we saw in the 90s and 2000s. The internet was this thing that came about. It was difficult to use. People thought it was going to change the world, but most people didn't think or see or understand the value that it could have. And when you fast forward 25 or 30 years,
offer our employees to get a percentage of their salary in Bitcoin, allows our residents to pay for fees in Bitcoin, and also would allow the city manager to cooperate with Miami-Dade County to allow for taxes to be paid in Bitcoin. It also a request of the state legislature that the city of Miami supports efforts to make Bitcoin an acceptable currency for us to potentially invest in the future. It's wonderful to be a very crypto-forward city in the city of Miami, and I want to thank my commission colleagues for allowing that to happen.
If you were able to invest in that movement, whether or not it was a tech company at the time or just the adoption of this new technology, you would be front running the market in any industry that you're in. And so for MySwimPro, our business, that's how we look at things. I mentioned these other companies like MicroStrategy and Tesla and PayPal and Square, and MySwimPro are front running the market, moving funds into an asset class and making the business more valuable, because we know that Bitcoin today is the 6th largest currency in the world. And in the future, it has a high likelihood of eclipsing all of the different asset classes and being the most valuable asset class in the world. And right now, 6% of all Bitcoin is already in corporate treasuries, meaning companies like PayPal and Square and Tesla own about 6% of all the Bitcoin in supply. And these are just those public companies that are reported. This is not including the smaller companies like ours, the venture capital funds, the different types of funds, and all the different industries and entities that are holding. So it's likely at least 2 or 3 times more than that 6% figure. So I hope this video was a good explanation of what Bitcoin is, why we decided to invest in Bitcoin, how we executed, and what I think the future of this entire financial services and decentralized finance world looks like. If you guys enjoyed the video, make sure you subscribe, like the video, let me know in the comments what questions you have. I'm gonna do a lot more videos like this on these topics because I know there's a lot of demand for interest in them. And the final thing I'll leave you with is a quote that Elon Musk made on January 29, 2021. In retrospect, it was inevitable. Thanks for watching and have a great day.